The funeral home's air conditioning hummed softly as I watched my sister Rebecca swagger through the door, 15 years too late to say goodbye to our parents. She looked exactly as I remembered. Expensive clothes, perfect makeup, and that air of entitlement that had always defined her. "Hello, little brother," she said, dropping her designer bag onto a chair. "Miss me? My name is Michael Bennett, and at 35, I just lost both my parents in a car accident. I'd spent the last decade caring for them as my father battled Parkinson's and my mother fought cancer. Rebecca, meanwhile, hadn't bothered to call once since she stormed out at 20, declaring our family too boring for her ambitions. "What are you doing here, Rebecca?" I asked, straightening my father's photo on the memorial display. She pulled out a thick envelope, tapping it against her palm. "Family obligation, and to claim what's rightfully mine." I felt the familiar tension headache building. "They're dead, Becca. If you came for forgiveness, you're too late." "Forgiveness?" She laughed, the sound jarring in the quiet room. "I came for my inheritance, half of everything. The house, the investments, Dad's company. It's all spelled out here." She thrust the papers at me. Legal documents claiming her right to 50% of our parents' estate as their firstborn child. My hands clenched involuntarily, crinkling the edges. "You abandoned them," I said quietly. "For 15 years, while I took care of them, managed Dad's company, handled everything. You were off living your life without a backward glance." Rebecca shrugged, examining her manicure. "And I'm sure you did a wonderful job playing the devoted son. But the law is the law. I'm entitled to my share." The worst part was, she might be right. Without a will specifically disinheriting her, Rebecca had a legal claim as their daughter. But there was something she didn't know, something our parents had left in their bedroom safe. "The reading of the will is tomorrow," I said, keeping my voice steady. "We'll discuss this then." "Oh, we'll do more than discuss it," she smirked. "I've already spoken to the other board members at Bennett Manufacturing. They're quite interested in my ideas for modernizing the company." Of course she had. Rebecca had always been good at manipulation, at telling people exactly what they wanted to hear. She'd probably promised them increased profits and aggressive expansion, everything our father had resisted in favor of steady, sustainable growth. "Still the same Becca," I said, shaking my head. "Always thinking you know better than everyone else." Her eyes narrowed. "And you're still the same pathetic little brother, clinging to Mom and Dad's outdated ways. Face it, Michael, you needed me. The company needed me. I just have the courage to go out and become something more." The arrival of other mourners prevented me from responding. I watched as Rebecca worked the room, playing the part of the grieving daughter perfectly. The tears, the sad smiles, the gentle touches on arms as people offered condolences. She was putting on quite a show. Later that evening, after everyone had left, I drove to our parents' house. The place felt empty now, echoing with memories. I made my way upstairs to their bedroom, where the safe sat hidden behind a painting. Dad had given me the combination just weeks before the accident. "There's something in there," he'd said, his hands shaking from the Parkinson's. "Something you'll need if Rebecca ever comes back." The safe opened with a soft click. Inside lay the usual documents, property deeds, insurance policies, stock certificates, but beneath them was a USB drive and a sealed envelope with my name on it. I recognized Dad's handwriting, shakier than it used to be but still distinct. The letter was dated just 3 months ago. "Dear Michael, if you're reading this, your mother and I are gone, and Rebecca has likely returned to claim her share. We knew she would. Money was always what mattered most to her. What she doesn't know is that we've been recording everything since she left. Every conversation where she refused to help with medical bills. Every email where she ignored our pleas to visit. And most importantly, the real reason she abandoned us. The USB drive contains security footage from my office the night before she left. Watch it. You'll understand why we changed our will. Love, Dad." My hands trembled as I plugged the drive into my laptop. The video was grainy but clear enough. It showed Rebecca in Dad's office late at night, transferring money from the company accounts. Not just a small amount, millions. The timestamp matched perfectly with her sudden departure 15 years ago. She hadn't left because we were too boring. She'd left because she'd stolen enough to start her new life, thinking the transfers were untraceable. But Dad had known. He kept the evidence all these years, waiting for the day she'd try to come back and take more. I checked the other documents in the safe. The will was there, properly notarized and updated 6 months ago. It left everything to me with a specific clause disinheriting Rebecca due to her documented theft and abandonment. There was more. Bank records showing the transfers, emails Rebecca had thought were deleted, even recordings of phone conversations where she'd brazenly admitted taking the money, thinking the statute of limitations had expired. My phone buzzed. A message from Rebecca. Talk to the board. They're very excited about my vision for the company. Hope you're ready for some changes, little brother. I smiled, thinking of the evidence in my hands. Rebecca had always been good at playing games. But this time, she was playing against opponents who'd have 15 years to prepare. The next morning, I arrived early at the lawyer's office for the reading of the will. Philip Chen, our family's attorney for 30 years, greeted me with a knowing look. Rebecca's already here, he said quietly, and she brought her own lawyer. Sure enough, Rebecca sat in the conference room with a sharp-suited attorney who looked fresh out of law school. She changed from yesterday's funeral attire into what I recognized as her business warrior outfit. Blood red blazer, black pencil skirt, stilettos that could double as weapons. Let's get this over with, she said as I sat down. I have a board meeting at 11. Philip cleared his throat, adjusting his glasses. Very well. Before we begin, there are some materials that need to be reviewed. He connected a laptop to the room's projector. Rebecca's smirk faltered slightly when a security footage began playing. What is this? Her lawyer demanded. Evidence, Philip replied calmly, of approximately $3.2 million stolen from Bennett Manufacturing 15 years ago. The statute of limitations hasn't expired, by the way. The discovery of the crime restarts the clock. Rebecca's face went pale as she watched herself on screen, transferring money late that night. The timestamp was clear, the evidence undeniable. I was authorized. No, you weren't. I cut in. Dad knew everything, Becca. He kept records, emails, phone calls, bank transfers, everything. Her lawyer leaned forward, whispering urgently in her ear. She waved him off, her composure cracking. Fine, she snapped. So I took some money. The company owed me. I was supposed to inherit it anyway. Is that what you told yourself? I asked. When Mom was dying of cancer and needed experimental treatments we could barely afford. When Dad's medications cost thousands every month. Don't you dare guilt trip me, she hissed. I earned my freedom from this family's emotional manipulation. Philip cleared his throat again. Perhaps we should proceed to the will itself. The document was brutally clear. Everything, the house, the company, the investments, went to me. Rebecca was explicitly disinherited, cited for theft and abandonment. This is ridiculous, she sputtered. I'll contest it. The board will back me. The board, I interrupted, has already seen the evidence. They're meeting right now to discuss it. Her phone buzzed as if on cue. The color drained from her face as she read the message. Emergency board meeting. Vote of no confidence. Criminal investigation pending. Did you really think Dad wouldn't protect the company? I asked quietly. He spent 40 years building it. He knew exactly who you were and what you might try to do. Rebecca's lawyer gathered his papers quickly. Ms. Bennett, I advise you not to say anything further. We need to discuss your options. But Rebecca wasn't listening. She was staring at the video screen, still showing her younger self stealing from our family. I had to leave, she whispered, more to herself than to us. This town, this family, it was suffocating me. I needed more. And now, I asked, was it worth it? She looked at me, then really looked at me for the first time since she returned. You don't understand. I built something for myself. A life, a reputation. Built on stolen money, Philip interjected, which the authorities will be very interested in tracking. Rebecca's hands began to shake. You wouldn't. We're family. Family? I stood up, gathering the evidence files. Family was sitting with Mom through chemo. Family was helping Dad when the Parkinson's got so bad he couldn't feed himself. Where were you then, Becca? She had no answer. Her carefully constructed world was crumbling, and she knew it. The police will be here soon, Philip said gently. I suggest you use this time to consider your options. The police arrived within the hour. 2 detectives in plain clothes, their badges glinting under the office lights. Rebecca sat silently as they read her rights, her perfect makeup smeared with tears. You can still fix this, I told her as they prepared to take her in. Pay back what you stole. Make it right. She looked up at me, and for a moment I saw a glimpse of the sister I'd known before money and ambition had corrupted her. How? Everything I have. It all traces back to that money. Then start over, I said. The right way this time. The next few weeks were a blur of legal meetings and damage control. The story hit the local news. Prominent businesswoman arrested for historic theft. Prodigal daughters return ends in handcuffs. Rebecca's carefully built reputation crumbled as investigators traced the stolen money through various investments and businesses. She eventually accepted a plea deal, 5 years in prison, full restitution, and a public admission of guilt. The day before she reported to prison, she asked to meet me at our parents' house. I've been thinking, she said, standing in the living room where family photos still hung on the walls. About mom and dad, about everything. And they were right about me. I was so focused on proving I was better than this place, better than the life they chose. She touched a photo of us as children, both smiling at the camera. I became exactly what they feared I would. I sat down on the familiar old couch. They never stopped loving you, you know, even after everything. I know, she whispered. The recordings, I listened to them all. Every message I ignored, every call for help. I heard Mom crying when I missed her last Christmas. 5 years is a long time, I said. But maybe it's what you need. Time to remember who you were before all this. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Will you keep the photos up? While I'm gone. Of course. Family is family, Becca, even when they lose their way. After she left for prison, I found a letter she'd left in Dad's old study. Dear Michael, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even know if I deserve it. But these past weeks, watching you handle everything with the grace and strength I never had, I finally understand what Dad always saw in you. Take care of the company. Take care of our family's legacy. You were always better at that than me. Maybe in 5 years, if you're willing, we can try to be brother and sister again. Real family this time, not just DNA and court battles. I'm sorry for everything. Love, Becca. The company thrived under proper leadership. I married Sarah, the girl next door Mom had always hoped I'd notice, and we had twins who filled the old house with laughter again. And every Christmas, I sent photos and letters to a prison in upstate New York, keeping a promise to parents who taught me that family bonds, though sometimes bent or broken, could still be mended. Rebecca served her time, paid her debt, and emerged changed. Not instantly, not perfectly, but genuinely. She started over with nothing but her education and determination, building a legitimate consulting business. Our relationship healed slowly, like a broken bone that needs time to grow stronger. Years later, at my twins' 10th birthday party, I found Rebecca showing them old family photos, telling stories about their grandparents. She caught my eye and smiled, a real smile, not the practiced one she'd once used to charm board members. You kept the photos up, she said later, after the kids were in bed. Family is family, I replied. That's what Mom and Dad always said. She nodded, understanding finally what they'd known all along. That true wealth isn't measured in stolen millions or corporate takeovers, but in the bonds we choose to honor and protect.